Hey, what's up, everybody? It's Lids, and we're back for some more Mardek. And of course, we were in the last episode trying to chase down this Saul guy and take this necromancy book from him. However, we are now trapped in his cellar with a bunch of zombies, including these rot rats. So we'll see if we can make our way out of here. We were, of course, quite literally jailed at the end of the previous episode. So these guys, I'm assuming, are quite resistant to dark. Yeah, I think that's more or less going to be the case all the time against these guys. So that means Sin Strike is basically out of the question. Outside of that, though, I think we'll be okay taking down basically any of these guys with Zack. However, they are quick, and therefore they do have the opportunity to get some attacks in here. Please don't all single out Solar. That would be unfortunate. Solar, we haven't seen much of it, but yes, your physical attacks, they are quite effective against these guys. And Burn, do you really need this Mighty Evil? You probably don't have to. These guys are low enough HP, you can probably take them out like that. Same with Mardek. Certainly same with Mardek. Mardek has light elemental attacks, so that was pretty much a sure thing there. And those lead pipes, just can't get rid of them, can we? Okay, so let's head back because I saw that at the end of the previous episode we noticed that there is an item back here that we missed. Let's make sure we pick that up. And this is actually a half-decent place to grind out a few levels and get some skills mastered and whatnot. And I suppose we probably should have expected that we were going to find a human skull here. Lovely. Let's double check our items, actually, because I think that, we have the Dark Helm, which is, of course, Black Hat, I should say, which is quite effective because it has the Dark Resistance. Also, the Magic Dark defensive reaction as well. That's maybe not so relevant when it seems like most people are physical attackers here, but this is going to be helpful no less. Burn, though, I feel like we can probably put something better than the Kettle Hat on you. We can probably put a Skull Helm for better defense and a little bit of extra vitality as well. So let's throw that on, because it's basically just a better version of a Kettle Hat. See that? Better defense, better magic defense, and 2 vitality. So let's go that route, and we see that Solar is quite lacking when it comes to items here. No helmet, at least not at the moment, and no chest plate at all. I'm pretty sure we can do something about the helmet. The chest plate, maybe less so. So remember that Solar is not able to wear helmets, only hats, which means that it might actually make sense to put the Black Hat on Solar rather than Zack, because at the moment, we don't have much else that we can put there. We do have a save crystal not far away, which we could use to access item storage and take off any useful hats that we have on other characters, but this is definitely our best hat. So let's throw that on Solar in that case, and maybe that means that we just throw a Skull Helm on Zack too, which is certainly not the end of the world. They're pretty solid, like I was saying when we first crafted them. They're not necessarily best in slot, I hesitate to say that, but they're really solid placeholders, I guess you could say. And these blood zombies, their eyeballs are popping out of their heads. Lovely. Let's look at them. So, dark resistance, a lot of it. Light weakness, a lot of it. And a little bit of resistance to earth, a little bit of weakness to fire. Blood sword as well. This is one of the items that we were actually thinking of crafting back at the blacksmith in Santusia. But for the moment, let's maybe go with a simple crescendo slash. And I'm not sure exactly how much damage we're going to be doing. I feel like Zack actually might have lower damage than other people here, because, yeah, he does not have light elemental attacks. I suppose most other people have items that are either light elemental or effective against undead. Zack does still have the effect against undead, so that is helpful, but I think Solar has both of those things, and therefore Solar has higher damage. As for Vern here, you can probably finish this guy off, assuming you don't miss. Thankfully you didn't. Mardek definitely has enough damage. Okay, so we fortunately did not have to see what happens if those guys manage to get a hit on us. Ooh, Blood Opal. That is one reason why it is useful to grind here, because those blood opals are typically quite hard to come by. It's an item that actually we would need to use in order to craft those swords that those guys were just using, so to get more of them is helpful. We got one in the Sandflow Caves. I think it might have been from the Sand Marauder, so the mini-boss of sorts. And we got one more, I think it might have been from a chest, but this might be the only place where you can farm up multiple of them. Otherwise, they're of limited supply with both the mini-boss, obviously there's only one of those, and the chest that, once you take stuff from the chest, it's obviously gone. Okay, so let's keep on heading through here, though, because we did see that this was a dead end, and so that means we're going to have to wrap around up here, it would appear. But there are definitely some hidden pathways in this area, so we'll have to look out for those. More of these blood zombies. Now, I suppose we could deliberately make a point of allowing some of them to attack us, but I feel like that's maybe not the best idea, because reasons? You know, maybe don't deliberately subject ourselves to taking damage? But I suppose, if you insist, we can deliberately just spend a turn healing with Mardek here, even if it's not totally necessary, just to see what this guy does. The answer is some dark damage, and he leached 100% of the damage that he dealt. Now, he was on full HP, so it didn't really matter, but that is interesting to note, no less. Alright, so for Zack, we now, of course, have plenty of time to take these guys out, and one Crescendo Slash should certainly do the trick. Now that he has a little bit of time to build up the power from the Crescendo Slashes. And yes, more Blood Opals. That is good because, like I was saying, they are used for that crafting recipe to make those swords, but also they have the really useful Drain 10% HP ability, which previously we, at least initially, only had one of these Blood Opals to do, so we had to be mindful of which person we opted to put that on. But if we have multiple of the Blood Opals, then that does make that a lot easier to do. And we are using a lot of these pendants, and yes, they are very useful for defensive reactions. However, like I was saying, I don't think there's going to be too many people using magic abilities here, so I think it would be helpful for us to throw on some of these Blood Opals right around now. People are certainly getting opportunities to use attacks, and we do have enough for everyone who has not yet learned that ability to learn it, because Mardek, I believe, has already done so. Let's just make sure that we take a second here. Check our reactions. Mostly the offensive ones. You know what? Mardek, it is probably worth taking off plus 10% damage and putting on Quarry Undead, because this is 50% damage against Undead, whereas this is obviously just 10%. So let's do that. That should be a fair bit more effective. Anything else of note for you? Doesn't look like it. As for Zack, we can put on Drain HP, however, you would have to remove something to make room for it. And I think getting rid of Quarry Insect and putting on Drain HP is probably worthwhile. We have seen a lot of Undead, but I don't think we've seen any insects here. And then, oh, yes, you definitely do have enough RP for this defensive reaction. In fact, this might actually be coming from the Skull Helm. We might have just put that on. And then, other than that, you're looking fine there. Vern, you also would need to get rid of something. Start using Drain HP. Now, this is a tricky question, though, as to what we take off here. Quarry Undead, obviously that's quite useful. 10% damage would probably be the next thing to go, however, that's not enough. We would still need one more RP. I think Vern is a slightly lower level than anyone else in the party right now. And there's also his Smite ability, which is really strong. We aren't doing everything we could do to scale it right now. It is most powerful when Vern levels up and when we are scaling his Spirit. And obviously we're doing what we can to level him up, but his Spirit is not something that we're boosting right now. So although long-term, you absolutely want to have this on, for the time being, let's put this on instead. Oh, and also, we have the critical plus 20% chance, which is the reaction from the sword that we put on him that we have not yet equipped either. There are a lot of useful offensive reactions that we'd like for Vern to learn, and not a lot of RP with which to learn them. So, I mean, if we were willing to do something like take off Quarry Undead, at least temporarily, to put on the critical 20%, again, definitely not a great idea in the short term, because we want that Quarry Undead right now, but maybe, just to learn it, we do it. And also, Quarry Undead on Solar, so that's probably another reason why Solar has been affected with those physical attacks, but plenty of RP to throw on Drain HP. And then I don't remember, I think this might have been coming from, I don't know what the minus 10% defensive reaction might have been coming from. Other than that, magic dark resistance, that's from the black hat that we just threw on. And nothing in terms of passive skills. That is a little alarming. But I think that, yeah, we're dedicating the accessories to other things at the moment. And like I said, there's nothing that we can put on Solar's chest plate spot at the moment. The reason for that being is because if you remember, these stoles that we saw in Aeropolis, those are the only things that you can put on Solar for the chest plate. And we did not get any of those because we couldn't really afford any of them at the time. Okay, there is another item here, and it's another skull, so is it just going to give us bones or human skulls, or... No! A dark robe, in fact. That was the really powerful robe that we got from the Dark Temple. So that is a very good pickup. No one here in our current party can equip it, but that is great to get another one of those. So let's keep on moving then, and see, yep, more loot over here. Oh, and, okay, combination of the ghasts and the rot rats. They are all quite quick, so Zach will go first here, but then we'll have a series of other people going after him. So, are we confident that Zach can take out a ghast in one turn? I think we may have seen that he was dealing slightly less than 778 damage previously. So let's do a crescendo slash on a rot rat instead. We can definitely take those out. Or, oh dear, okay. And also, apparently, Solar is a zombie right now, because that is something that those rot rats can apparently do. And that does mean that Solar will randomly attack, and what we saw was Solar attacked themselves, which technically we arguably should not have made the offensive reaction for that. However, that does mean that Solar was learning the skill, however, Solar was dealing more damage to themselves, so we're probably going to want to do something about that. As for right now, we can, on Vern's turn, maybe just get rid of one of these people. Like, we could get rid of said rot rat, so that it doesn't do that to more people. As for Mardek, I'm thinking you just get rid of the gas. Oh no. And I was going to say, end this fight, so that we can get rid of that zombification. Okay, at least Zach does have enough damage now after a second round of crescendo slashes, because we need to do something about that zombification. And I think that is holy water one of the items that can remove it? Is that the correct potion? Zombification and curses, yes. Okay, so let's do that, because that is definitely not something that we want to see happening to our characters. Motion potion for paralysis removal. And is there anything else over here? There's definitely a chest over there. I'm assuming this loops around. But, oh, hold on. There's another chest here. Phoenix Downs. Okay, this is a little alarming. If you look at the amount of Phoenix Downs that people already have, 15 for Mardek, 000. Solar does have a resurrect ability, so Solar can basically have another way of doing the same thing that a Phoenix Down does, but outside of that, it would be nice to have other people able to revive it. What the heck is this? A couple of green souls and a posh zombie? What? Okay, so the posh zombie has an expensive suit. Okay. As well as 2 gold rings, I suppose that perhaps makes some sense, and a mahogany staff. So, interesting. And then, oh, well, let's look at the other stats as well, and not surprisingly, dark resistance, light weakness, and a little bit of earth resistance and fire weakness. The green souls are very resistant to elements, except not quite as resistant to fire. Not quite as resistant to dark, but, and also, I mean, like, I guess you could say that's somewhat weak to light. It is technically still 10% resistance, but if we're looking across the board there, that is still certainly the way to go. Also, 20 defense and 10 magic defense, so ideally light magic would be the way to get rid of these guys. So Solar, that probably means it will be largely up to you. As for the posh zombie, well, I think that's going to be a little bit more straightforward, because we have a lot of people who are effective against undead. So, Zach, do we try taking out one of the green souls? Maybe we do. Actually, did you have any non-elemental resistance? You do. You have 100% non-elemental resistance. That is notable. So that means that Zach Crescendo Slash will be guaranteed to do 0 damage. However, if we use a Soul Strike normal attack, that will be air elemental. Might be enough to get at least some damage there. I don't know. I'm thinking that the Posh Zombie might actually be the way to go for you. Let's Crescendo Slash there. Won't be enough to take him out in one hit, but otherwise we would have been in a bad place, I think. Not making much progress with your turn. So, let's use a Solar Flare to take out a Green Soul, because I think this is going to be the most effective way to do that. And then these guys are going to go. That's just a normal physical attack. That is probably the best thing that could have happened. I'm assuming these guys have some pretty nasty skills. So, we could definitely take out the Posh Zombie with Burn here. I think we do that, because we will have a chance to... Oh, or maybe not. Okay, the Posh Zombie does go next. So I think, yeah, let's make a point of taking him out with Mardek here. Mardek, tell me, even if I miss the offensive reaction, that you can still do that. Thank you. Okay, and so yes, we should use a physical attack against the Green Soul with Zack rather than a Crescendo Slash, and it does precisely 1 damage. Because it has, what, 90% resistance? Yes, and 20 physical defense. So, and it's not undead, right? It's technically a spirit, so Zack doesn't get the extra effectiveness from that. That is why using Solar Flare with Solar will be key. And I believe there are some items from these types of enemies, namely the Posh Zombie, that we can only get from fighting these guys. Unfortunately, did not get any there. But that is another reason why going through here is particularly notable. And fighting some of these enemies, maybe making a point of not just going through this area as quickly as possible, but fighting a few extra enemies. There are some items that... Ooh, like Sheet Music 5. Sheet music for a piece titled Dolores Dirge, which gradually damages all enemies in battle over time. Okay, so that is, of course, a shield of sorts for Elwian. Okay, and here's round 2 against these guys. And for Elwian, we've previously seen that most of her abilities were support abilities of sorts. And so, for her to have a way to deal damage more directly, I think that's a good thing. Gives her a little more versatility. We'll definitely target the Green Souls with Solar, like we were saying before. Oh dear, I missed the reaction on that one. And that is one of those nasty skills. That was 400-something damage against Mardek for an Ether element ability, I believe. And we've not seen many people deal an Ether damage to us, so we definitely don't have any resistance to that at the moment. As for Vern, we could use a Smite Evil to make sure that we actually take you out here, because last time we saw that a normal attack did not do the trick. Mardek, you could heal yourself, because, you know, you did just take a pretty nasty hit. Why don't we do that? Because we know that Solar can take this guy out in 1 hit. And Zack, we'll give you a participation trophy for that one. There we go. That's where the real damage comes in. Okay. We're getting lots of money from these fights. I don't know, it might even be the case that fighting the Posh Zombies gives more coins at the end of the fights than a normal enemy would. That might be a thing. Also, of course, Mardek is using the double gold ability. This is the other fight that you want to try to get as many encounters with, because these fallen soldiers, which we've not yet seen, actually, I think there might have been maybe not a quote-unquote fallen soldier, but a very similar enemy back in the original Lorik fight in Chapter 2. But these guys have kite shields, which is significant because we've gotten one of those before from a chest. So again, that was something that we could only get one of, we couldn't get multiple of. And that is the ingredient, one of the key ingredients, that we use to create Mardek's Shield of Light. And, of course, Vern also uses shields, and we don't have another Shield of Light, so it'd be nice to be able to get one for him as well. And there is also a Shield of Dark that we have not yet had the opportunity to craft because we did not have enough kite shields. So getting more from these guys here, this is the primary way in which you do that. So another reason why making a point of fighting a few extra enemies down here is sometimes worthwhile. And I'm assuming these guys are also pretty resistant to Dark, even if they are technically not Dark Elemental themselves. Yeah, so Sin Strike's still off the table. And they're, despite being Earth Elemental, not 100% resistant to Earth, but that's not a huge factor here. They're actually very weak to air, which is notable for Zack. That means that a normal attack rather than a Crescendo Slash is probably the way to go. Certainly seems as though that's true. As for Solar, do we have a preference? Physical attacks versus magic attacks? We do have a little bit of physical defense, and they are weak to light either way. So I suppose we could use Solar Flare here. I think that's more of a sure thing. And then Vern, certainly if you use Smite Evil or Disrupt Undead, that'll be enough, right? No question. Might have been able to pull it off with a normal attack, but played it a little bit safe there, just in case. And so now we see if we get a Kite Shield here. We did not. Now, previously, I want to say, at least before Mardek came out on Steam, that was about a 5% chance of them dropping Kite Shield, so it is somewhat difficult and does take a bit of a committed effort. However, I would argue that it is definitely worth it, because... Hold on a second. How do we get through here? Oh, okay. I think it was actually a hidden pathway that I just did not see, because I'm pretty sure we went down this route, or maybe even down this route, and we did not see this pathway here, because this does not show up, unless if you're looking at the map. So I doubled back, assuming that we were just going down a direction that was solely for loot. However, that was not actually the case. So we'll head back that way, and that is, again, more opportunity for us to fight, well, not so much these guys. I don't think there's anything special that they drop. So these will just be guys we want to take out as soon as possible, and hope they don't zombify us again. But we shall see. And fortunately, I think we got off the hook that time. And we're definitely okay with physical attacks on these guys. Of course, Solar is also looking to master the Drain HP option, that skill, and therefore it would be nice to fit in more physical attacks. I know we're making a bit of more of a point of using magical attacks with them. But it would be nice to at least get 10 of those attacks in. And another thing that I was thinking we might want to do is check in with our party members here and see what they think about this strange place in which we find ourselves.
This place reeks of death and misery. It brings back strong memories of Mardek. His study was very much like this. The same aura of doom and gloom. I hate it. It offends everything that I stand for. Desecrating the deceased, like this. Let's hurry up and get out of here.
So let's make a point of ignoring everything that Rohov said there and make a point of deliberately staying down here. As for other people, Zach. Zach's music, so that would suggest that this might be a more general Zach as a character update rather than a reflection on where we currently find ourselves.
You do it again. You are the first employer to take so much interest in me. I don't understand it.
Nobody else took any interest? Why not? I don't understand that.
To most of my employers, I was no different to a sword to them. A tool for defeating monsters. No more. They would order me like a beast. But talk for talking's sake? Huh. I grew resentful of employers in general, and I still do not trust you. This could just be some kind of scheme, somehow. I will fight for you, but stop begging me for words. I will have none of it.
Whoa. Okay. Yes. A little bit more from Zach. We can try pushing him again, see if he has more to say, maybe this time about this location, though it does seem like, generally speaking, he's not much for the way of conversation. You won't talk to me? No. Oh. Okay. I mean, we did just get a fair bit out of him. As for Vern? This place is offensive to all my senses. I look forward to delivering righteous justice to the Cretan who owns this place, as he justly deserves for such abominations onto Yalort's world. That's more the type of reaction I was expecting. As for Solar? Almighty marching midgets of Malsat's misty mangroves! This step-botherous hovel place looks like to be crawling with the shambling undeadly deads! Let us try to not become them also! Well said, Solar. Let's not become undead either, and I mean, you did become undead yourself, so you know, here is the secret pathway that we did not find before. And now a combination of rot rats and blood zombies. I think that the rot rats go next, and the blood zombie is the one that is the slowest. So let's prioritize rot rats first and foremost. One of them will still get an attack here. And I was wondering if we would instantly get zombified immediately after Solar said that. However, it was not the case. So, Vern, why don't you take care of this guy here? Or blood opals, it does seem like those are actually fairly common drops, so that's Probably not a bad thing. So here we go through this area. And there might be even more hidden pathways. Yes. So this is an area where if you don't look at your map, you can very much appear to be stuck. Remember, back when we were first in here, we were stuck in this area here, which looked like a little jail cell. However, this was actually a secret pathway through here. And then we saw a secret pathway through here, and now through any of a number of places. So if you're having trouble getting through here, then make sure that you're paying close attention to what your map is saying. Because I'm not sure that there's much else that you can trust in here. More holy water. That is probably useful, seeing as how it can remove zombification, and we've certainly seen our fair share of zombification. So, okay, another battle here. More rot rats. I would like for us to find more of those fallen soldiers so we can hopefully pick up another kite shield or two. That would be very helpful. Because those shields, the Shield of Light and Shield of Darkness, I would say, for the most part, well, I don't remember if there are any late game shields that would ultimately replace them, but at least of the shields I can remember, those are probably the best, Shield of Light and Shield of Dark. There are a few other that are a little bit more niche, at least in my opinion. Well, maybe Shield of Light and Shield of Dark are kind of niche in that they are most effective against light and dark, whereas there are other ones that are a little more versatile, so maybe niche is not the right word that I'm looking for, but I am a big fan of them. They are probably my favorite shields, is maybe a better way to phrase it. So, let's take these guys out here. And they're no problem, as long as they don't zombify anyone. And there he is, Zack, mastering Drain HP, which should mean that most people are fairly close behind him. Now, as for Zack, did we have other abilities that we had to unequip in order to master Drain HP? We got rid of Quarry Insect, but as we were saying previously, don't think that's a huge deal to get rid of that. So, you're probably fine. It would be more so with people like Vern. It would be very nice to be able to put back on Quarry Undead and or Smite in place of critical 20% as well. Solar, you're fine. It's mostly that we want to get 3 more attacks in with Vern so that he can master that Drain HP. And how do we get over to this area here? Another instance of a hidden path. And so, other thing we're noticing here is that, of course, there is a save spot. And that is, as you may have noticed, typically a bit of a hint. So we should probably take note of that. Oh, I missed that reaction. Oops. Okay, so that actually was a very quick Ghast, I think? No, Ghoul. Ghoul is the quick one. So, okay. With Zack, why don't we deliberately... we Crescendo Slash here? I think we Crescendo Slash against maybe the Ghoul, because we do have enough damage to take it out in one hit. Fortunately, the Ghast misses. And then, Solar, you are definitely on Green Soul duty. Because I believe they will go next. And at least this time, I did manage to get off the reaction on that, because that is a powerful magic ability that they use. And then Smite Evil will probably be enough for this guy here. It certainly is. Vern is also fairly close to leveling up, which would also be something nice to get. Mardek, have we tried attacking the Green Souls with you? Curious as to how effective this is, because these guys have relatively low light resistance. Yeah, that is actually enough damage. At least when he crits like that. Which is, of course, not necessarily something you can rely on. Okay, so Zombie Dust, sure. Motion Potions, sure. Dead Hands, nothing too special there. Just a bunch of crafting items, but not the ones that we're really looking for. Now, what I was saying before about that save crystal is that, well, typically, when you find them at the end of dungeons, kind of like that, it does mean that you're probably about to run into a significant fight, and so there is a door up there. Would suggest that we're probably close to our way out of here. There are a few chests down this route, so let's go there first, and that does mean that we'll have to go through these skeletons here. We did see many of these back in Chapter 2, so these guys, they're not terribly new to us. They have a little bit in the way of physical defenses. Let's see if we can take one of them out. With a Crescendo Slash, we can. Solar, we do kind of want to make a point of getting some physical attacks in with you two. And I think that we probably have enough damage to take one out with that, so let's do it. And Vern, I would imagine you can still deal 300. Oh, you cannot deal 310 damage. I mean, we definitely could if we, say, use something like Smite Evil, but we opted not to, which was maybe, in hindsight, not a great idea. And Mardek, Solar's taken a fair number of hits here. It might be worth making a point of healing. Does also give other people more of an opportunity to master some of those reactions. Zack doesn't really need them, but Vern and Solar do. So I'm thinking we might actually deliberately pass with Zack here, just to give Solar and Vern another chance to use some of those skills. And we saw that Solar actually has more damage than Vern, at least if we're not using any skills on Vern, so therefore, let's do this. Attack the one with more HP with Solar, and we can take them both out. There's a whole mace, which I'm pretty sure we did pick up previously in Chapter 2 when we fought previous skeletons. We just threw them away in our item storage somewhere. There is Drain HP with Vern, so that's good to see. That probably does mean that we now want to take it off of Vern in order to put, say, Quarry Undead back on to significantly increase his damage. And in this specific instance, I do think Quarry Undead is probably doing more damage than Smite. Smite is more versatile in that it will give damage basically every circumstance, but in this specific scenario, Quarry Undead will be stronger, I do believe. So there are two chests here. More zombie dust. Lovely. And bone mail. We have picked up a little bit of that. We had one that I believe we got from a chest back in Chapter 2. And then I think the shops in Cambria also sold them, and we might have picked up an extra one there. So they do give extra dark resistance, which is nice because, well, I'm assuming we're going to be taking a fair bit of dark damage down here. We already have. Most of the enemies here have seemingly used not exclusively dark attacks, but the vast majority have been dark. The only exception really being, I think, those green souls. The thing is, yes, we could put that on anyone except for Solar. Mardek is working on this reaction. In fact, well, is he? He was not. He doesn't really have the RP to do so, unless, say, we were to remove light resistance, and you know what? For the same reason that we're seeing a lot of dark damage, it's pretty unlikely that we'll see very much light damage, so let's put on minus 30%. That should be pretty helpful. And then we actually can still throw on the soaks as well. So yeah, that's definitely something we should have done much earlier. I mean, we only somewhat recently put on that chest plate, but we did definitely miss a little bit of an opportunity to get some uses out of that reaction. And then, is there anyone else who we would rather put a bone mail on? Could it be someone like Zack, who, at the moment, was using the snake mail? Primary reason for that was to learn the Sin Strike ability. However, that is a dark elemental ability, and we've been making a point of not using that because we have so many dark enemies here. I feel like that is probably a good recipe for having Zack use the bone mail. Does also give purity for curse resistance, and not sure we've seen much of that down here, but I wouldn't say it's impossible, given how that does seem sort of thematic with all this dark energy that's around here. As for which other status immunity we'd like to get rid of, maybe antibody? Not sure we've seen much in the way of poisons. So let's try that. I would still like to get at least one extra kite shield, like I was saying before. That would be, I think, pretty significant for us. Now, if we don't run into any of those fallen soldiers here, which unfortunately we did not, maybe I'll make a point of going back here outside of an episode and just grind up a little bit more. But as for right now, these blood zombies are probably best for Zack, because as I believe we have established, we can't do much in the way of damaging those green souls. However, Solar will be quick enough to take this one out before it can take a turn, so that's good to see. And between Vern and Mardek, we should be able to take this blood zombie out as well before he can go. And now that we have Quarry Undead on Vern, can he take one of these guys out without using any special abilities? I'm curious, let's see. No is the answer. Fortunately, we do have Mardek as a bit of a backstop here. He can jump in. and fill in the rest of the damage. More blood opals. So I guess, you know, the game heard what I was saying and said, sure, we'll give you more. Okay, let's make a point of saving here. Because now I think we will go up this area here and see what lies on this side. And the answer is, what is that?
Saul was outraged at the maddening attitudes of these interlopers. How egotistical of them to survive and try to thwart my plans for world domination, he thought, with a scowl on his beautiful yet misunderstood face. I have one last trick up my sleeves for my pitch black and incredibly stylish and appropriate robes, my friends, you darned and dratted meddlers. Behold! This thing! Saul pointed to the large monstrosity dripping water in the middle of the room.
Dripping water? What?
I have no idea what it is. Saul pointed to the large monstrosity dripping water in the middle of the room. I have no idea what it is. All I know is that I found it trying to crawl out of Lake Quirr one day, weak, and I know an opportunity when I see one. Isn't she a beauty? It could be my finest work of art to date. This transformation from the shackles of life to the shackles of unlife. That's Mork's Tracelon. It survived? Then that means it has yet to taste blood or no battle, but I am confident that it will rip out your skeletons for animation faster than you can say, I bet it can't really do that, and you are lying, Saul. You handsomely devilish and devilishly handsome man, you. Let's see, shall we?
Okay. Yes, it is in fact a bone Dracelon. It is an undead version of the Dracelon that we fought back in Chapter 2 in Mork's Battleship. So, based on what we saw it do then, we saw, I believe, a variety of some strong physical attacks, some paralysis, maybe some air or earth attacks as well, some spells of that variety too. It does have 15 physical defense and 5 magic defense, so in theory, preferable to attack it with magic if we can. So, that being said, not really an option for Zack, so we got rid of Sin Strike because we put on the armor that gives him the resistance to dark. Oh, and I missed the reaction, which is not going to help. And the Dracelon is actually somewhat slow. Fortunately, everyone will get the opportunity to go before it takes its turn. So Solar, I'm thinking Solar Flare is probably the best option for you. That might be our most reliable source of damage, outside of maybe something like Disrupt Undead or Smite Evil from Burn. That's probably still going to be best, so it shouldn't really matter which one we opt for. Slightly more damage than what Solar was doing. Mardek, you also likely could deal your fair share of damage. However, is it worthwhile for us to say put on a shield or magic shield if we're trying to play a little bit more defensively? That might be preferable because someone like Solar with only 370 HP, I'm a little bit concerned about what happens if the Bone Dracelon targets you. We do have to take a bit of a guess here as to whether it's going to use physical or magical attacks, and look at that! It uses a physical attack on the person that we just put a shield on. Granted, it did miss, fortunately, but looks like we made a good guess there. Crescendo Slash, try to hit the reaction this time. Yes, the damage is higher now. That is good to see, and we're probably going to continue with the Solar Flares. And now, already at roughly half HP for this guy, so that's a good thing to see. We'll continue the Smite Eviling and Disrupting Undead with Vern. And Mardek, do we similarly this time try to put on a Magic Shield on Solar? He's definitely the lowest HP character right now, and therefore I think it is probably better to hedge our bets with Solar rather than try to split out those shields amongst different party members. Oh dear. Okay, Mardek is cursed, which is unfortunate because that means that he's not going to be able to use any of those skills. However, the Bone Dracelon is with low enough HP now that that may no longer be a factor. If he had done that earlier, that might have been a bit of an issue, but as of right now, Solar might be able to finish it right here. And does. Bone Dracelon down. In fact, dealt 0 damage to us. Fortunately, had it miss and just curse us one time, so that had something to do with it, but alright. I'll take it. Ah! Relent! Relent! I give up. I surrender.
You have bested me, whoever you are. My undead are gone. Gone, whimpered Saul. Here, take the blasted necromantic tome and be gone with you. But my memory is long. You will come to rue this day, I swear it.
Oh. Okay. Also, he is still sitting there.
Leave me be. I'm a threat to you no more. For now.
See, like, for now, though. That's like a concerning thing for you to follow up with, say? Are any of these other tomes or books things that we have not yet read? A large tome about necromancy, of course, is laid out on the table. You can't make sense of all the dark glyphs and runes, but they're surrounded by skulls and crossbones, and it all looks rather pretentious. Okay, I'm pretty sure we did read that before. Let's just double check there is anything over here. It seems like it is just Saul himself. So, if we head on out of here, I do believe, yes, we will find that we go through that door that was previously locked, and we are now safe to leave Saul's house, I do think. So let's get out of here with the Necromantic Tome, which is an ancient book full of forbidden black magic, which Meridor wants to use to bind a soul to his metal man for the sake of science. So, I mean, it was no easy feat picking this up, but we do now have the ability to, theoretically, perform some necromancy. So next time, I guess we'll give it a shot, and we'll see what happens when we try to dabble with the dark arts. So I'll catch you then.